So this particular tune for Guru Brahma, probably you may not have heard because we have sung it many different ways, but not in this one. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva, Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Para Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. So this particular mantra you may not have heard, but you may have heard many mantras in this rag. So, because this is one of the primordial rag, the first rag to emerge in the entire classical music system of India. And many of you may know what a rag is, many of you may not even know what that is. So if we start at the very beginning, the legend goes that that there were certain combinations of sounds which people were able to generate So those combinations of sounds were so powerful that if you made those sounds, even with the thought of a particular person with you, then that sound could cause great harm to that person just by thinking about them while creating this combination of sounds or vibrations. And these sounds became known, they say, to the demonic world, and the misuse of this power of sound started happening. And when this particular issue was understood and realized, is when the divine powers said that we cannot allow such strong, negative, harsh sounds to even exist. And we have to wipe the memory of these harsh sounds from the human mind and from the universe. So that is why when they took the sound spectrum and classified it into specific intervals and created music, so the notes were created, and particularly to give pleasantness and remind people of their true nature and rid them and free them of this excessively powerful combination of sounds. So one of my friends, Steve, who is a guitar player, actually by chance happened to be creating some really sort of out of this world kind of sounds on his electric guitar, and he was promptly told by some wise person who was nearby that this particular raga or this particular combination of sounds, don't ever use it, because if you do, you may inadvertently harm somebody. So that's how they say classical music arose, as an antidote to excessive power of sound, so that the sounds given were very, very pleasant, and the vibration is pleasant not only to the ear but to the entire body. I don't know how many of you have seen Sonal, you have that video you sent me once of on that metal plate. They put the sand, and then by doing the vibration of the metal plate, some of you may have seen it. Sonal, you have it? Hello, Sonal. Earth to Sonal.
It should be in the group. I think I saw it there only, and then I forwarded to some other people also from there. It's in the group.
Okay, but Sonal was the one who first posted it, so she may have it handy. Do you have it?
Sir, I disconnected. Which one?
That metal plate on which there is some sand, and then you vibrate the plate, and it forms patterns on the.
Yeah.
You have that one?
Yes.
Can you just share your? No. Okay, send me or share the screen and just play it.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, send it to me. You're sending on WhatsApp? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And how this different semi-crystalline patterns are formed just by the plate vibrating at a certain frequency. Yeah, just random patterns of sand, and then just by the particular sound, it just simply forms that pattern. So the idea is that this is kind of why music has such a profound effect on us, because it actually resonates and vibrates at the very core level, and forms structure, forms patterns, forms beauty in the physical structure of the cells of the body. And we are all mostly water, so even that water crystals or the water molecules vibrating in resonance, creating these patterns and forming harmony, forming beauty at a physical level. And we can only imagine what it does to us at an emotional or mental level. And we, of course, know very clearly actually what it does. It makes us, good music, calming music makes us feel good, makes us feel nice. Jarring music, noisy music makes us feel agitated, irritated, and so on. So it's interesting, this first rag that came up, which is the rag for Vedic chanting. So there are 12 notes in an octave. And what is an octave? It's where the frequency is doubled, so that whether you are on this note or double the note, they completely merge with each other, because one is just twice of the other, so there is no difference between the two, except that two waves of the higher note fit inside the same space as one wave of the first note, and that creates this beautiful resonance. So between this first sa and the second sa, there are actually 12 notes. So ये 12 जो 12 notes है, उन्हीं को in what sequence and in what pattern these are chosen is what determines the qualities of a rag and the nature of the rag and the ethos of the rag, the feeling of the rag. And so Bhairav rag, which was this primordial rag for chanting, it's called Bairagi Bhairav, Bairagi yani Vairagya, and true to its name and true to its quality of Vairagya, it only has 5 notes. So Sa, Re, Ma, Pa and Ni, that's it, only 5 notes. Unlike Sampurna ragas which have 6 notes, 7 notes, and some ragas which allow even more. But this one has only 5 notes. So just out of 5 notes, Vairagi is able to create a lot of power, a lot of melody, a lot of resonance. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. So all the chants, the Vedic chants, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Like this, all the Vedic chants all fit into this Bairagi Bhaira. And in fact, a lot of the Vedas are remembered and memorized in this particular raga because it is very few notes, so it's easy for the mind to know and remember the tune. And along with the tune, the words also are memorized very easily. So how many of us like and enjoy classical music? Just raise your hand. Or hold on. Yeah, so these are the raised hands. Chitra, Mickey, Love, yeah, Jennifer, Sparshatamji, okay. Okay, great. And others who have not been exposed much to classical music at first glance and without too much knowledge of it, it sounds as if it would not be interesting. But it is a whole world. I mean, people have spent entire lifetime simply learning classical music because it is so deep and so fulfilling. Yesterday, I happened to remember Rag Marwa, which is a very every rag has a like a what they call a ahir bhav, which is like a feeling. No, it's causing too much noise.
No, actually say that one.
અત્યારે નહીં કાલે અચ્છા જો હવે. So this Marwa rag is a very what is known as a Gambhir rag. So I happen to remember this Marwa rag and one particular ghazal that my teacher Pandit Havaldar, who you are going to, some of you or many of you are going to have the fortune to meet and hear performing on Saturday. So you have seen the announcements. He's going to be here and spend the weekend. He's receiving the Pandit Bhimsen Joshi Award on Sunday the 5th, and on Saturday he's going to be with us to share his knowledge on classical music, his knowledge on the Guru Shishya Parampara, and also perform the classical ragas which as taught to him by Pandit Madhav Guri, who is Pandit Bhimsen Joshi's one of his prime disciples. So So this Rag Marva, very, very beautiful Rag, and so let me see if I can find it. So for the people who have not, who think they don't like classical music, I would suggest that you force yourself to listen to a little bit of it, because if you don't like it, you're going to need to be forced to sit down and listen. But if you listen for a while with the patience and just be with the feeling of the rag, the sounds, let them wash over you like waves over rocks, you will find that it is indeed extremely wonderful world out there of sounds which delight the ear, so, and the mind and the soul. They say that out of the five senses, the highest sense, the one which is closest to the consciousness and divine, the first sense is the sense of sound. Even though instinctively we may think it's light, but actually the ears are the ones which carry the most profound and the highest of vibrations. So I always, it's like switching from one rag to other sometimes is not easy. It's almost gets into your blood, as they say. And then, so I remember with Panditji when he used to, he used to stay with us in the US for many days while he was there, and we would just pick one rag, and sometimes what we would do is morning, afternoon, evening, 3 sessions, and all 3 sessions for several days it would be just one rag. And it's all, by the time the 7th, 8th, 9th day of continuous yaman or todi or whichever rag we're picking, it almost just gets into your system, and then it becomes difficult to actually switch from one to the other. So right now Marwa is not coming to me because I'm right now full of Bairagi Bhairav. But the trick I use is to go directly to the song rather than to the rag, because somehow the song sits in some other part of the brain rather than the rag. So if you try to remember the notes, it's difficult to do. But if you remember the song, Magare Nidare Sa लहरों में डूबते रहे लहरों में डूबते रहे दरिया नहीं मिला लहरों में. Is the sound okay? I'm hearing some like cut. It's okay. Okay. The words are actually very true of our lives. As a separate self, we get caught up in the outer, in the non-existent, in the dream, and forget the ocean. लहरों में डूबते रहे, दरिया नहीं मिला. That's the story of lives. That's the story of the quest for spirituality. लहरों में डूबते रहे दरिया नहीं मिला उससे बिछड़ के फिर कोई वैसा नहीं मिला लहरों में डूबते रहे. So I, of course, relate everything that I sing back to consciousness, to divine. So the the ghazal talks about how once you have tasted the nectar of peace, the nectar of your own divine self, then everything else fades in comparison. And it's a kind of a paradoxical feeling, and you actually want to withdraw from everything and just be in that, abide in that peaceful nature of the true self. And someone in Rajkot asked me कि सर आप मेडिटेट ज्यादा करते हैं कि प्रवचन ज्यादा करते हैं and what came to mind is that what's the difference? It's both. Pravachan is meditation, and meditation is just nothing but being with that true self, and pravachan is nothing but again being with who you are. So what has happened in the last 1 2 years, 3 years that we've been on this journey is this sense of completion, this sense of satisfaction, this sense of peace, where there is no less and less of clamoring for anything and more of just okayness with whatever is. And I noticed that this whole journey is like a slippery slope. You're walking a tight rope kind of on the top of a cliff, and to stay on path you need to just stay on the edge and keep going in exactly with the full understanding and full eyes open. Otherwise, falling down either way on either side of this slope is very, very easy. So, for example, I have been passionate about tennis for many, many years. Been for decades, not years, and very competitive. And I've been, always in our club there are subdivisions of groups in terms of based on how well you play, and I've always maintained myself in the A group for many, many years. And but recently I found that it doesn't matter that much, and or to stay in A, and it doesn't matter even whether I play well or I hit the shot well. And today when I played, actually in the beginning part of the game, I was very, very just kind of dispassionate, and it made very little difference कि कैसे खेल रहा हूँ, क्या खेल रहा हूँ. And I noticed that it's because of the inner okayness that's so much there that it doesn't matter. Shot ठीक गया तो ठीक गया, नहीं गया तो भी ठीक है. And the slippery slope side aspect of it is that you can slip into sort of a nonchalance or a passiveness, and I caught myself falling down that slope of not even really caring too much about the game. And the trick is to remember the third step of this whole journey. And the third step is to bring the qualities of that back into the real world, is to bring the qualities of peace, of quietness, of stillness back into this game called life. And I started with bringing it back into the game of tennis. So having remembered that, I just started playing all out, not caring about whether the shot went in or not, whether I won the point or not. And the magical part of it is that, I mean, me and my partner, we were playing doubles. We won practically every single game from that point on, even though there was no desire or any intention to win, because the game just became so effortless and so wonderful, so perfect, so without struggling for it. And this is what we can learn in life. So starting with letting go and allowing ourselves to realize our true selves and being okay and being happy and joyous in who we really are, so that the external pulls and pressures of getting something, acquiring something, being something, getting something, having something, doing something, going somewhere, all of those become less and less of pulls in your life, and you're simply okay and joyous and happy with wherever you are and whatever you're doing and whatever is present. And but then the important part is, once you reach that stillness, is not to fall into the down the slope of apathy, down the slope of of uh, of vairagya, to the extent that life doesn't matter anymore. So you don't want to fall down that slippery slope to that extent. So as soon as you find yourself going down that, you bring yourself back along with those qualities back into the world, for no reason other than because you are in the game. There was a very interesting incident which happened in Rajkot. One little kid, I was asking children to share about their experiences and what they understood from whatever we were communicating for the 2-hour seminar. And this little kid gets up, Krishiv was his name. Little kid gets up, hardly, maybe 6th, 7th standard. And he says, what I understood is, I'm here in this life. Let me just make the most of it.
How old was he?
It must be 7 or 8 years. Let me just make the most of it. That's all. That's all that matters. And so that's important to get back to. Let me make the most of it. Let me bring back the qualities of stillness. So the interesting part is that the more still you are, the better your game of tennis is, the better your game of cricket is, the better the game of life is. So even though you are engaged in activity, and even though you are re-entering the game full of action, full of energy, it only becomes satisfying and flawless and effortless and joyful when it is filled with stillness. And this is one of the famous paradoxes that Sonal loves to hear from me, that stillness is the basis of motion. And it seems as though paradoxical, but that's what it is. And stillness is the basis of motion. So just as silence is the basis of sound. Again, a paradox. Silence is the basis of sound. It sounds it appears and sounds totally incorrect. How can it be? But without silence, there can be no sound. And is the basis, is the starting point. Stillness is the basis of motion. Emptiness is the basis of objects. And our own nothingness is the basis of this somethingness that we bring to the world. That when we operate out of the nothingness that we truly are, then life becomes much, much easier. So I wanted to talk also about about something you can do between now and the next week, which is to when we understand this path, then we tend to become much more in control of our own emotions. But other people's emotions is a different matter. So what does the understanding of oneness say about other people's emotions? How are we supposed to be, act, and express oneness, express divinity in the presence of other people's emotion, which sometimes may be irrational to us, illogical to us, excessive, extreme, and so on. So how do we approach that? Because our own emotions, it's much easier because you know that these are my emotions and they come and go, and I'm not these emotions. And knowing that I'm not the emotions, I'm somewhat in control and a master of them. But other people's emotions, it's a much more bigger challenge. So how do we deal with that is the question I want to leave you all with, and maybe we'll discuss it on our WhatsApp groups over the week. But we'll continue this conversation on emotions and mastering other people's emotions. Mastering our own emotions is easy. How do we master other people's emotions? All right, so we'll take that up next week. And with that, we'll sign off. And I'm hoping to see everyone who is anywhere in and around Mumbai to come on Saturday and be with my Guruji and the classical program that we are having at Prempuri Ashram. Pune people, of course, you are invited, not that far. Please come. If you need to stay over, we'll find a place for you. And make use of this presence of my music guru, Pandit Havaldar. Okay, wonderful. I normally would like to have left 10 or 15 minutes for questions, but we went over. So next time we'll stop at about 9:35, so there's at least 10 minutes for Q&A. All right, great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you all. Wonderful. Jai Gurudev. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and goodbye. See you next Thursday at 9 p.m.
Signing off.
Signing off. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye-bye.
Good job, good job.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mm.